Today, it's time for a flavor exploration of Dominaria. Greetings, hatchlings! We are here for another boosted awareness where we take a wander through a pack of cards, take a look at the flavor, the artwork and all that, see how well it comes together. I genuinely enjoy this. It's a nice experience to get to wander through a booster pack and see all the hard work that was put into creating all these different cards and see if it lands, if it works out or not. So that being said, let us go ahead and dive into the booster pack. All right, let's get into the juiciness of Dominaria. Let's see what we're gonna get. Okay, so we are starting out with, hold on, let me see if I can get this a little bit closer here. There we go. We're starting out with Davenant Trapper. Now, the Davenant Archers actually harkens all the way back to the original Legends set where they had somebody, it's actually the same casting cost as well. 1 white, 2 colorless. This is a human archer. Whenever you cast a historic spell, tap target creature an opponent controls. Artifact legendaries and sagas are historic. This is a little bit of a flavor quibble for me, the whole historic thing. A brand new artifact that was just created can be considered historic. Legendary creatures, sure. Sagas, sure. The artifact part of it, I understand they wanted to make the ability better, but it's a bit of a flavor fail for me. And since that's what we're evaluating here as well, I just wanted to point that out. So the flavor text says, "Go swiftly, clever arrow, and teach the philosophy of stillness." This is the flavor text is not good on this. This was written by somebody who thinks that they're being really clever. Clever arrow? The arrow is not clever. The arrow is not clever. It is in fact dull. It's like a dumb bullet. Also, it doesn't make any sense that whenever you cast, whenever an artifact comes out, or a legendary creature, or an entire saga happens, then she fires off her arrow. How does that really? How does that work? The entire Ice Age happened. I can fire an arrow. Do. It's just the flavor on this in terms of it being a trapper who stuns her prey. I mean, you look at this. She's got these kind. I assume all of her arrows have these like. It's kind of like what are they called? You know, like the rubber bullets that the police use to stun people. It's that same kind of concept. And as a trapper, that works with the name and everything like that. But the ability falls flat in terms of making sense, and the flavor text is just, this woman's a goof. If I was standing there working with her and we're like out on the parapets firing air, I'd be like, Sarah, can you just stop? You're not clever. You need to shut up. You sound like an idiot. All right, next we've got Cold Water Snapper. 1 blue and 5 colorless for a 4/5 hexproof, which means it can't be targeted by your opponent. For generations, the inhabitants of Orvada have hungered for turtle soup. For generations, the turtles have frustrated their ambitions. They have wanted to have turtle soup for a long time, but look at it. It's like a walking island. I really like the colors in this card. I love the blue sky in the background with this crazy curved sort of, ooh, look at this peak, this weird little kind of half tower mountain thing going on. You've got the birds flying around to give you a sense of scale. This thing is absolutely massive. And you can see all like the algae that's growing on it as it's kind of slowly floated around. It looks like people could be living on the back of this thing. It looks like a mountain located on the back of a turtle. And I really enjoy the whole green moss covered nature of it. The green-blue contrast works really well in this card, and I like the beach and everything. This just makes Dominaria look gorgeous. Like it would be an absolutely beautiful place to visit, as long as you stayed away from the beach where these things come out. And holy crap, man, trying to mess with these snappers, I do not think so. That is a beefy turtle. Then we've got Fervent Strike. 1 red, target creature gets +1/+0 and gains first strike and haste until end of turn. The flame paints a bright wheel on the sky, then shifts into a stabbing spark. The enemy falls, the smoke of victory rises. Legends of the Fire Dancer. All right, that's kind of cool. That's got kind of like a mythic kind of feel to it. Not obviously in terms of mythic rares, but you know, the myth of an individual. I really like this monk who's sitting here, this sort of fire adept who's got a spear made clearly just all of flame. It's like he's pulling it into existence the way his hands are moving out like that. Like it's just kind of like, boom, 1 second there was nothing in his hand, and all of a sudden, whoop, he's created this flame spear. And obviously you can see that's why he's getting the +1 power first strike. And the haste is not so obvious. I think with this you would have to know that you have the kind of the Gitu like Lavamancers, and these guys are adepts who like gain speed through fire magic. So that part, the haste isn't obvious from the artwork, but if you understand the underlying flavor of the world, it does fit into that. So overall, I would say this is a flavor win. I like the purplish background that this guy is contrasted against. It's just him and his fire spear. It kind of looks like there might be some lava vents behind him. Maybe he's there in Shiv. I'm not sure exactly where he's supposed to be located, but this is some nice looking artwork. Probably looks really good in foil. Then we got Pierce the Sky, one of your standard green destroy flying creature style spells. I mean, it doesn't straight out destroy the creature, but 7 damage, it's pretty much going to. 1 green, 1 colorless. Pierce the Sky deals 7 damage to target creature with flying at instant speed. Llanowar elves conceal their ballista in the upper canopy of the forest, ready to clear the skies of any intruders. All right, well, I don't remember the Llanowar having ballistas, but that doesn't mean that they don't. That part, it's not too much of a flavor win for me. I actually would have liked it if they just had some kind of super enchanted arrows that they shot up into the creatures instead, but that's a minor nitpick. The artwork clearly depicts what's going on. You can see a drake that has just been run through by a massive arrow. It's arching back, and it's like it was just flying along, wasn't expecting this to happen. Although it does, the angle of the arrow going through him kind of, it's a little bit odd. And also it makes him, oh, you know what this is? This is him actually falling through the tree line and everything afterwards, because you can see the canopy up here. So he's been struck while he was flying by, and now he is falling down, basically DOA, as this gigantic ballista shaft has already smashed through him. You can see down here is the ground, and off in the distance you can see a tiny, tiny little figure. Assumably that is a Llanowar elf. Then we've got Rat Colony, the bane of Arena. Seriously, anybody who plays Rat Colony decks in pauper events in Arena, you can chundle my bundle. You can chug it all the way down, all right? Because that's just obnoxious. But that's not what we're here to do. It's just, this is what I think now when I see Rat Colony. I just think about knobs in Arena. So, 1 black, 1 colorless for a 2/1. Rat Colony gets +1/+0 for each other rat you control. A deck can have any number of cards named Rat Colony. Wreckage from the Phyrexian invasion provided the rats with a seemingly unlimited number of breeding grounds. That makes perfect sense to me, honestly, because Phyrexians are made of metal and flesh. So the rats would be able to eat the flesh and kind of breed and multiply inside all these little like metallic husks of the Phyrexians laying around. And this is a nod back to the plague rats, which was the original rat that you could play any number of way back in the day. All the way starting in Alpha, actually, they had that. And you've got them here. You can see the one leading the way out here, and then you've got a whole bunch of them. You can see all their little red eyes back there. And I like it. I like the concept of the colony growing stronger as other rats join it. So overall, the flavor of the card is pretty tight. It works very well. Next up, Keldon Raider. All right, so we've got 2 red, 2 colorless for a 4/3 human warrior. When it enters the battlefield, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Keldon Raider spoils are limited to what their colos can carry. No matter the value, the rest goes up in smoke. So I guess the idea behind this drawing a card and discarding a card is the concept of the raider going into the village and taking some treasure from the village, but because it's limited in what he can carry and what he can take, that would represent the discarding the card, right? So raiding a village and snatching something up is drawing a card, having the limited space would be discarding the card, so that's thematically explained. You can clearly see that this is someone engaged in a raid. You can see the village all burning behind him on his wild Kolos as he charges away. The 4/3 power and toughness works because Koloses are half decently sized creatures akin to bulls, and so you add that to the warrior as well, and all together you could easily see that the you could consider the beast to be like a 2-2, and you can consider the warrior to be like a 2-1. Put them together, you get a 4-3. So that all works, and you can even see that he actually has the spoils of war that he's carrying there with him on the back of his Colo. So overall, the flavor of this ties together very, very well. It's that feeling of action as he charges away from a flaming village, or he might still be in the middle of the village in all honesty, because you can see the little cinders flying up along here as well. So he might actually be directly in the middle. But that definitely shows the Keldons off as reckless and brave raiding warriors as well, not afraid to be in the midst of a gigantic burning village. Moving on to Fungal Infection. What a gross and evocative card. 1 black instant, target creature gets -1/-1 till end of turn. Create a 1/1 green sapling creature token. To Thalids, the whole world is just a pile of mulch to grow saplings in. That's so gross to think about. Look at this. You've got like what I assume is probably like some sort of tree folk that's living out in the bog or something like that, and you can see on his arm, he's actually got a fungal infection, and this is where a sapling is growing up. But imagine that happening to you as a human being. All of a sudden, you've got this massive fungal infection that's serious enough to affect your health. As a human, that would actually completely end you. -1/-1 is enough to destroy most human beings. So this would result in you ending and a Thalid coming up out of your body. But even if you were like a hardier 2-2 style human, you would be cut in half of your health. Like, you would be at half health, and you would see this fungal infection spreading on your body and then gaining its own sentient life and climbing off of you. That would be absolutely horrific. This artwork is just, I'm not sure if this is supposed to be a tree folk or if this is supposed to be like a bigger Thalid growing something off of his own arm. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be a mouth open in horror or if this is supposed to be the smile of like a parent's love. It's not 100%, but either way, I definitely enjoy the artwork, and this is just gross to me. That is just unpleasant looking. It's really well transmitted, feels very black, so that's a win. Then we've got Pegasus Courser. 1 white, 2 colors for a 1/3 flyer. Whenever Pegasus Courser attacks, another target attacking creature gains flying until end of turn. A Pegasus chooses its rider, bearing the worthy into the clouds and tossing all others to the ground. Well, overall, this is a really, really well done fantasy flavored card. It makes perfect sense. The creature itself has flying. You've got the 3 toughness to indicate this is tougher than your regular style horse. You got the beautiful looking Pegasus up on a cliff with its nice, awesome, and it looks like it's got angel wings, which makes sense because Pegasus are creatures of light and virtue. And you've got this person kind of running up to it, reaching out with a harness. One of the chosen, the Pegasus will allow to ride it into battle. He's getting it. Basically, he's getting it ready to fly off. The fact that it gives another target attacking creature flying represents the mount, not the mount, sorry, but the rider who is mounted on it. So overall, the flavor is well done. I enjoy the fact that the Pegasus is shown against a dark and gloomy sky being readied for battle. It shows that the Pegasus is there in a time of need and is ready to go and charge into battle. Overall, this is some good flavor. Then we got Rescue. 1 blue, instant, return target permanent you control to its owner's hand. With just a few seconds to escape, Darian saved Hercule's additions on restoring physical objects from ash. So if you don't know what's going on here, this is a Talarian mage who is escaping a fire, and they've snatched up Hercule's spells. Now Hercule, I don't know if you guys know who that is, but that's a character from way, way, way back, all the way back pretty much to the beginning of Magic the Gathering, like Antiquities level. The second expansion from Magic the Gathering had Hercule's Recall, and they expanded on Hercule as time went by. Hercule is actually the wife of Felden. Felden is a tragic character. Oh man, he is obsessed with the loss of his wife. I actually did a really interesting lore video on Felden, and I'll try and remember to link it at the end of the video for you to check out because it's a really good one. The Felden card they did was an absolute win. I really like the artwork with the flames and the flavor, like just kind of cloaking this guy in a bit of darkness. All the flames are at his back. Even his cloak is on fire. You can see this. Now he's risking everything to save these magical scrolls. You can see that they're magical because they have that hint of blue glow around them. And what I really like is the flavor text shows how clever this mage is. With only a few seconds to escape, he chose to save Hercule's additions on restoring physical objects from ash. So basically, he's saving the magic that will allow him to restore all the other things that are being destroyed by this fire. That's the sort of clever individual that you need in charge of protecting ancient magical knowledge. So well done to Darien, who is a character we've never heard of before. But man, I really love the fact that his cloak's on fire, and it shows just how dedicated he is to saving the knowledge. This is a true Talarian scholar. It must make his soul ache to watch all these magical tomes burning. Then we've got Untamed Kevu. This is a pretty solid green card. 1 green, 1 colorless for a 2/2. It's got kicker 3. If you pay the kicker cost, that means that it gets a bonus of 3 +1/+1 counters, and it also has vigilance and trample, but that is not necessarily tied into the +1/+1 counters because it always has that. So, I mean, for 2 mana, this is a pretty solid package. The artwork shows a big Kevu towering over these little individual warriors. So this is obviously a kickered version. The Kevu were from that whole Yavimaya arc where the forest they all came boiling out to protect the forest. So the Kevu are wild beasts that are kind of like directed in almost a hive mind fashion to protect nature. Overall, this is a pretty solid card. The artwork is okay. I mean, you've got a big towering Kevu, you've got your little humans here for scale. The artwork doesn't really speak that much to me, but it does show him in a really deep, like, gigantic forest with massive trees. So again, the Kevu are here protecting that. So that works for me. Then we've got Champion of the Flame. This is obviously a Keldon we have here. 1 red, 1 colorless for a 1/1 Trampler. Champion of the Flame gets +2/+2 for each aura and equipment attached to it. Grand Warlord Radha's challengers are always defeated, but she rewards the most passionate with the Flame of Keld. After that, they burn for her. It's kind of disappointing that it's this Grand Warlord's Radha's challengers are always defeated. She can never be defeated. Well, when we look at the Grand Radha card, she doesn't seem like she's undefeatable. So that is a bit weak. But the concept of bestowing the best challengers with the Flame of Keld, and then they have this ability, Champion of the Flame. It's pretty cool. And the artwork ties into the ability very well. +2/+2 for each aura and equipment attached to it. Clearly here we have a couple pieces of equipment, and each of those is blasting out the fire, and that can be representing the boost that gives this guy. He looks pretty beefy as well. He looks like somebody you would not want to get into a battle with. It does sell the concept of him being a champion who challenged Radha, and while not good enough to defeat the Warlord, was definitely good enough to be bestowed the gift of the flame to go ahead and crush. I mean, we don't see anything representing auras, but that's fine. It's not like everything has to be tied into the artwork, although I suppose these little things around his neck could be some sort of enchantment, some sort of crude tribal enchantment to go with the rest of his crude outfit. Following that up, we've got On Sarah's Wings, and oh my god, do I absolutely love stained glass. I love stained glass so much. I've always loved it since I was a kid, and I love it in this artwork. So we got 1 white, 3 colorless for a legendary enchantment. Enchanted creature is legendary, gets +1/+1, has flying, vigilance, and lifelink. The spirit of Sarah raised Brindri high and commanded her to keep the balance. So this is the moment of Sarah selecting a champion and going, you know what, I'm going to turn you into an angel. She took a regular, everyday person, turned her into an angel. Honestly, the pose, the body posing looks kind of a little bit gimpy to me. I don't really like that, but the stained glass window wings, the stained glass wings are absolutely gorgeous. I mean, she's framed against other stained glass in the back, which I love as well. You can tell there's a gigantic cathedral with these big candelabras that are shadowed in the back with a tiny little bit of flame coming out. But these wings, I imagine, every time I look at this artwork, I imagine these wings, and I wonder what they must sound like when they're flapping. Do they crinkle? Do they creak? What sort of noise would stained glass window wings make? Because obviously they have to be supple enough to bend. Do they tinkle like chimes? Like, this is really, really evocative to me, and this makes for an absolutely gorgeous foil. So this is a really, really cool card. And the flying and vigilance are easily transmitted by these enchanted wings. The fact that she's been selected by a goddess obviously can give into the whole lifelink ability. It's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting to know that these are literally Sarah's wings, because you can only have one of these. This is a legendary enchantment, so there's not multiple sets of these. This would be the ones Sarah can only grant these to one individual at any given time, some chosen special one. I really like that. Oh, we've got a foil and it's coming first. That's a little bit weird, but Dominaria does have weird pack order that way sometimes. So 1 red, 2 colors for a 2/1. This is a skeleton warrior. Tap Drudge Sentinel for 3 colorless. It gains indestructible until end of turn. So it can't be destroyed or take damage. Well, it can take damage, but the damage doesn't destroy it. The Cabal assured the 7 houses that hostages receive all the food and rest they require. How awful is that? This is the Cabal. They take hostages and they tell people, oh, don't worry, you know what? They'll get all of the food and rest they require. But joke's on you. We turned your individual that we've stolen into an undead, and now they're shambling around and they don't need any rest or food because they're a skeleton in service to our house. And we can see this is someone of Benelish descent here, because this sword right here has stained glass located right down here, seated at the bottom of the blade, and that is definitely Benelish. Also, if you take a look at the armor and everything, you can tell this is an individual from Benalia. And you can't tell if it was a man or a woman, obviously, because at this point it's a desiccated skeletal body that's shambling around. But I definitely like the concept behind this. You can actually see a little bit of stained glass in the helmet as well. The foiling. Oh, I think I saw what's peeking out underneath. I think we got one of the dragons. Boys. That might be what's under here. Ooh, let's just see. What do we got? Nope, never mind. We got Joda, Archmage Eternal. And if you're wondering why the rare comes behind the foil, that's because every pack of Dominaria was guaranteed to have a legendary card in it. So the legendary card is seated at the back so that they could properly, it doesn't matter whether it's an uncommon or a rare, it always shows up at the back, and that's so they could seed the packs properly. So Joda Archmage Eternal is 1 red, 1 white, and 1 blue in a colorless for a 4/3. He is actually a major character from Magic the Gathering. This is actually a major character finally given a card. He's a 4/3 flyer, and you can pay 1 mana of every color rather than pay the mana cost for spells that you cast. And this is the same ability that actually comes on the Fist of the Suns, but this is Joda instead having this ability. It's pretty interesting. Chronicles across the ages describe Joda. They likely refer not to one mage, but to a family or an arcane title. What are you talking about? Joda was a well-known character. You don't know anything, Arcole, you Argivian scholar. I'll call you an Argivian fool. I like the fact that behind Joda, you can see spheres of magic of every type, showing that he is in tune with all of the different magic. He can take mana of all the different types of Dominaria, and he can focus them into enough power. If he has access to all 5 colors, he can focus it into enough power to cast literally any spell in existence. That's pretty neat. You can use him as a focus in that fashion. And he looks pretty imposing, honestly, just kind of floating there in front of magic of all the 5 different types. Very, very nice. He's got kind of like an axe staff going on here. Then we've got a forest. Pretty standard looking forest. All naturey. You don't have any signs of life aside from the trees or whatever. Looks pretty idyllic. Looks like there might be like a worn path there for you to wander through, but overall, don't have too much to say about this one. It's a run-of-the-mill average forest. Oh, don't you do it, Easel. We've been doing fine so far. And here we have a sapling, something that could be grown right on your own arm in your own disgust. Ooh. I like it. It's a funky little, like, it's got a bunch of little mushroom heads and weird little tentacles and stuff, and it's a 1/1, but look at how small it is. This is somebody's desk, and this thing's just squeezing along the ground. So 1/1s are typically what humans are, and this thing's just a wee little guy. How does he do so much damage? Is it because he's got, like, some kind of numbing poison in him or whatever? I like the colors, too. The purple and the greens work together very well. It's like it's creeping through somebody's lab or something. It's coming through some little opening under here, and it's creeping on by the desk. This definitely feels like a desk to me, which gives a sense of the scope of the sapling. So overall, pretty interesting. I gotta say, not too shabby a pack. If you enjoy these types of videos, but there are sets that you want to see me open, then by all means, feel free to send in a booster pack of whatever set that you would like to see. I only have limited access to certain boosters, so there's only so many different sets that I can do this with currently, and I would love to expand that. That being said, it's time to roll the golden scroll. The people who have my back on Patreon or through channel memberships, that's another way that you can help me get other boosters if you want. You can sign up either as a channel membership using the join button, or get on my Patreon to help me out with that sweet, sweet cheddar, because booster packs ain't free, son. So, thanks for being here, and I will see you guys tomorrow.
Hail to the king, baby!